All right, so hey everyone, welcome back. We always try to make these deep dives useful for everybody, right? I mean, whether you're deep in the lab doing research or you're, a CEO making big decisions or even shaping policy. And today we're talking about something that touches all those worlds, entrepreneurship. But, with a bit of a different angle.
Yeah, it's not just about the individual entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Like the lone genius in the garage.
Yeah.
It's about, understanding that broader context. What makes some places just like breeding grounds for innovation and others, well, not so much.
It's like you can have the best seed in the world, but if the soil's no good.
Exactly. It's not going to go. And that soil in the world of business, that's institutions, the laws, the rules, the culture, all of that. And that's what we're going to dig into today.
Right, right. So we're focusing on what's called opportunity entrepreneurship. So this isn't about like necessity. It's not about starting a business because you have to. It's about seeing a real opportunity, a chance to do something new, something innovative.
Exactly. It's that spark of possibility. And to understand this, we're looking at some really interesting research from Brahim Gaze and his team.
Okay, yeah. Tell me more about that.
So they looked at 36 OECD countries, right? So we're talking developed economies. And they tracked this over 14 years. And what they were trying to figure out is, like, what are the institutional factors that really make a difference?
So big picture stuff, what makes a whole country good or bad for this kind of opportunity entrepreneurship?
Exactly. And they use these two big frameworks to analyze all this data. One is institutional theory. So that's all about the formal institutions, laws, regulations, government policies.
Okay, the rule book, basically.
Yeah, the official stuff. But then they also use institutional enemy theory. And that's about the more informal stuff, like
Okay.
cultural values, social norms, the unwritten rules of the game.
Ah, interesting. So it's not just about what's on paper, it's about like the whole vibe of a place.
Exactly. It's about the whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
So they brought all that together to try to paint a more complete picture.
All right, so what did they find? Like, what actually makes a difference?
Well, one of the big ones was regulatory quality.
Okay. So, like, how good are the regulations?
Yeah. But it's not just about having a ton of regulations. It's about them being clear, consistent, predictable. It's about knowing the rules of the game and knowing that they'll be applied fairly.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're a researcher developing some new tech or you're a CEO thinking about a big investment, you need to know that your intellectual property is protected. You need to know you're not going to get shaken down for bribes every other day.
Exactly. It's about reducing uncertainty. And that creates an environment where people feel comfortable taking risks.
Which is what entrepreneurship is all about, right? Taking risks.
Absolutely. And there was something interesting here. You might think that like a super efficient bureaucracy would be a huge plus, like getting permits approved super fast, all that.
Yeah, that seems like it would be good.
But it turns out, at least in these developed countries, bureaucratic efficiency had less of an impact than you might expect.
Really? So it's not just about speed.
Right. It suggests that there's probably already a baseline level of efficiency in these places. What matters more is the quality of the regulations themselves. Like, are they sensible? Are they fair?
Okay, so it's not just about getting things done quickly. It's about getting them done right.
Exactly. And when we talk about regulatory quality, one thing that really stood out was property
Competitive.
rights.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense.
The study found a strong link between strong property rights and entrepreneurial confidence. When people feel confident that they own their ideas, that they own their investments, they're more likely to go for it.
It's like if you don't believe you're going to benefit from your hard work, your innovation, why bother?
All right. And on the flip side, one of the biggest negatives was corruption.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be a killer.
It injects so much uncertainty into the system. It increases costs. It distorts competition. So strong anti-corruption laws and, just as importantly, enforcement, those are crucial.
So it's not just about having the laws on the books. It's about actually creating a culture of transparency and accountability.
Exactly. Now, remember how we talked about those informal institutions?
Yeah, the cultural stuff.
Right. So the researchers also looked at things like political stability, social norms, all that.
Okay, so how does that play into entrepreneurship?
Well, political stability, generally speaking, is a good thing. It creates predictability, which businesses like. But there's a nuance here. Sometimes periods of instability can actually spark entrepreneurial activity.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, think about it. When things are changing rapidly, people are forced to adapt, to find new solutions. Sometimes that can lead to new businesses, new innovations.
So a little bit of chaos can actually be a good thing?
Well, Not chaos exactly, but a shakeup can force people to think outside the box. Of course, too much instability is bad. It's a balance.
Right, right. Makes sense. What about socioeconomic conditions like poverty, unemployment, all that?
Yeah, that also has a complex relationship with entrepreneurship. When times are tough, some people are forced into starting businesses just to survive.
Out of necessity, right?
Exactly. But for opportunity entrepreneurship, for people who are starting businesses because they see a real chance to succeed, a stable and prosperous society is a much better starting point.
Makes sense. If you're just trying to keep your head above water, it's hard to think about innovation and growth.
Right. And then there's the impact of religious tensions. The study found that high levels of religious tension are really bad for entrepreneurship.
Oh, wow. Why is that?
Well, it creates a lot of uncertainty. It reduces trust between different groups. And that kind of environment is just not conducive to collaboration, which is so important for new businesses.
Yeah, if everyone's suspicious of each other, it's hard to build anything together.
Exactly. And, this study was really focused on these big institutional factors. But it's important to remember that things like education and social networks are also super important for entrepreneurs.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like, you need the skills to build something, and you need the connections to find customers, investors, all that.
Absolutely. So taking all of this together, what does it mean for someone who wants to promote more of this opportunity entrepreneurship, whether they're policymaker, a researcher, a business leader?
Yeah, what's the takeaway here?
I think the big message is that while individual talent and drive are essential, creating the right environment is just as important.
It's that soil analogy again.
Exactly. You can have the best seeds in the world, but if the soil is bad, they're not going to grow.
So what are some concrete things that can be done based on this research?
Well, first and foremost, focus on regulatory quality. Clear, consistent, predictable regulations. That's huge.
Make it easy to understand the rules of the game.
Exactly. Second, protect property rights,
Hmm.
both physical property and intellectual property. Make
Uh-huh.
people feel confident that they own what they create.
That's fundamental, right?
It is. And third, fight corruption. Create a level playing field where everyone is playing by the same rules.
No special favors, no backroom deals.
Right. Now, this one is a bit more complex, but addressing socioeconomic inequalities can also make a difference. When people feel like they have some level of economic security, they're more likely to take risks.
So it's not just about creating opportunities, it's about creating an environment where people feel comfortable taking advantage of those opportunities.
Exactly. And finally, promoting inclusive secular governance can help create a more dynamic and innovative culture.
Where everyone feels like they have a chance to contribute.
Right. So it's not just one thing. It's a whole bunch of factors working together.
A whole ecosystem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the key takeaway is that institutions matter. They matter a lot. And if we want to see more opportunity entrepreneurship, more innovation, more growth, we need to pay attention to those institutions and make sure they're supporting the kind of environment we want to see.
So for everyone listening, think about the world you operate in. What are the institutional factors that are helping or hurting entrepreneurship in your field, in your country? And what can you do to make a difference?
Yeah, what can you do to help create that fertile soil?
Because that's where the seeds of innovation take root. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.